wonder sometimes if I'm just naive or not, or I have spent most of my life, and I think I still do believe this, but it may be a bit of a naive belief, and that it's okay to be a little naive, but I believe that humanity is always evolving. And I believe that we're always moving towards light and we're moving towards love. And I like to think that who we are as a people, as a humanity, that we have evolved over the last 2,000 years, and that we are wiser, kinder, more compassionate than where we were 2,000 years ago when Jesus came into the world. I like to think that after World War II, and as we moved beyond the Holocaust, when we said, never again, I grew up thinking we meant never again. And it wasn't just for certain people, it was for anybody. I thought we meant we're not going to do this to each other anymore. And yet, here we are, and I said something similar last year in the year 2025, and now it's the year 2026. I watch as a country who I was taught was one of the wisest, smartest, most evolved, is capable of participating in cruelty and is participating in harming one another when the wrong people get into power. And I realize that really nothing changes, or nothing totally has changed over the last few thousand years. Because maybe what I'm coming to is that there's a truth that the wrong human beings given too much power can be, were, and still are extremely dangerous. And so when cruelty is the underlying threat of power, people die. And so there is, even though this is Easter and we're talking about hope blooming and the beautiful pictures of earth and flowers that are popping up, that is a truth. But there's also, if we're going to be honest with ourselves so that we can move through it, there's a bit of a darkness in the air today. And there was a darkness in the air back then. And I've spent most of my life wanting to look away from that and pretending that we're better than that, pretending that darkness doesn't exist, because we're Unitarian Universalists and we have this optimistic view of humanity, and we have this optimistic view of ultimate reality. And we can be optimistic and we can be hopeful, but we also don't need to be naive, and we don't need to turn our faces away from what's happening. And so we can look at things that are happening in the world and feel like it's heartbreaking, and we might want to look away. But the one thing that I do like about the whole of the Easter story, not just the resurrection, not just part of it, but the whole story in its entirety encompasses all of it. It is a story about power and cruelty and betrayal. And I said this last year, but I'm going to remind us of it again this year. If the Easter story ended on Good Friday, we would be in quite a mess. But the full story does not end on Friday. It continues on because love and hope and creation continue on. So if you take the juxtaposition of the abuse of power there is, in our country right now, and throughout the world, there is an abuse of power of people. But there's also, as Maya was talking about, there is another quiet power. There is an underlying strength. There is also this power, which is a thread of love coursing through everything that was happening back when Jesus was going through his own death and his story, and it's happening now. 2,000 years ago, there was this small and yet quietly powerful group of people called the Essenes, who saw beyond the veil, who saw beyond the illusion, who navigated a dangerous world and quietly persisted in resolute resistance through community, connection, and commitment. There was a message, and always has been a message of hope in the midst of the power, the cruelty, and the darkness. The thread of love was always there, weaving through the world. There have been people who always see this clearly. 2,000 years ago, it was the Essenes. They knew that Rome was cruel, but they taught love anyways. Jesus knew that his message would not be received by the people in power, but he moved through the world with compassion anyways. Mary Magdalene was silenced, but she stood, remained by his side through it all anyways. And as a mother, I'm sure that Mother Mary wanted to look away, but she endured anyways. So what was the power that kept them going? Love. The love of a mother, the love of a partner, and the cosmic love of a larger, broader connection with Source, or what some might call God. The love never died. Because, if you think about this, love never dies. And I want us to think about that for just a minute. Love never dies. If love could die, we wouldn't be here. The cosmos wouldn't be here. The flowers wouldn't be blooming. Love is the thread, the life force, the oxygen that keeps us going. And we can forget that sometimes. We can be, and very often, at least speaking for myself, I am often shocked by, and I look away from the cruelty in the world. But I think the reason we're shocked by it and we want to look away from that cruelty is because that is not the nature state of being. That is not what is supposed to be. Hate is not our homeostasis. Love is. I'm going to say that again. Hate is not our homeostasis. Love is. And that is why the hate and the cruelty are so painful to behold. Because each one of us in our heart, in our soul, in our inner being, know that that is not how things are supposed to be. And so what the Easter story says to me is that there is a reality beyond what we can see. It was the breaking of the veil. It was a demonstration in real time that the world is more than what we realize. And I think Maya did a great job of that this morning with the children. We can look at something and we can just see brown, bleak, dry, nothing. But underneath all of that, there's this hope that is blooming. There's these beautiful flowers that are ready to just pop up. And I think that that is what is happening in the world today. It's continually happening. When we look at the news or the headlines and we think, this is dark, this is dreary, this is drab, there's no hope, we just can't see all of the roots and the flowers and the new life that is just ready to come to the surface. So if we think about that, what is that more that's beyond what we see as the violence and the cruelty? There's the hope, there's the compassion, there's the joy, there's the love, there's the people watching out for each other. The Easter story did not get stuck on Good Friday when Jesus died. A whole new world opened up 2 days later. And I think that the beauty of the Christian story, as it's told, is that nothing really changed between Friday and Sunday except our awareness of ultimate reality. Right? The only thing that changed was our awareness of what was going on behind the scenes. And so it can feel like right now in the United States and throughout the world and in the Middle East, it might feel like we're stuck on Good Friday. But we have to remember that that was not the end of the story. And the kind of exciting thing is that we all get to rewrite our own stories. Right? If we are an author and we're looking at the beginning of a story, we may be in the middle of the story, but we still get to rewrite the end of the story. And the end of the story is what we choose to write. So what was the story that Jesus was trying to write 2,000 years ago? What was the story that Buddha was trying to write 500 years before that? Sometimes we get it, sometimes we see it, and then the veil takes over, the darkness descends over our eyes again, and we're shielded from it. Or we forget, or we just get scared. But now is not the time to be scared. As our opening words said, as this music was talking about, hope blooms. Easter is so much more than what one religion has made it. And the story does not end there. And so I want to share today some more words written by Astrid Madeline Weike. It was shared on Facebook, and I find her words very beautiful. Before the world called her a prostitute, before the church buried her story beneath centuries of shame, Mary Magdalene was the counterpart. Not a follower, not a bystander, but the equal, the feminine frequency of Christ consciousness. While others scattered, she stayed. She wept at the tomb, waited in the silence, and became the first to behold the risen light. She witnessed the resurrection, felt it in her bones, heard her name spoken by the divine. And in that moment, the most sacred truth was revealed. Life is eternal. Love transcends form. The feminine was never secondary. She was the portal. Jesus may have carried the light, but Mary carried the remembrance. I'm going to say that again. Jesus may have carried the light, but Mary carried the remembrance, the knowing, the codes, the gospel that could never be written in ink because it was always meant to be felt. And maybe this is the real gospel, that death does not end, the rising is real, the divine lives within us, in our grief, in our devotion, in our return to truth. The resurrection wasn't a miracle for one man. It was a prophecy, a legacy for all of us. A call to remember that no part of you is ever truly lost. Not the parts that are broke, not the parts that wandered, not the parts that were crucified by life. They rise too, this Easter. I honor Mary Magdalene within all of us, the one who stays, the one who knows, the one who doesn't need a pulpit to be holy. And I honor the Christ, not just the Savior, but as a mirror of what's possible when we embody love and die to all that is false. He rose, she remembered, and their story lives in us all. And with that, I think we should sing De Colores, number 305 in your gray hymnal.
When the sunlight shines out through a rift in the clouds.
we extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Go now in peace. Amen. We have coffee and conversation. We have an introvert escape hatch that's not quite as introverted today because we're having a potluck after the service, and then we'll have an Easter egg hunt. So stay and join us for some conversation, and if you're on Zoom, I will enable you to have a virtual coffee hour.